Welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit, a platform where we have invited Spirit to share messages, healings, and transmissions with all of us. May this energetic experience help us to expand our awareness and to deepen the relationship we have with our higher self, our spiritual team, and with Source, however we define them. Thank you for being here and for taking part in this amazing journey. Welcome back to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit. We are on Season 4, Day 3, Session 3, which happens to be Episode 9. And so today we have the honor of speaking with Julie Wainer. Like I mentioned in the last session, Julie and I were introduced through someone not too long ago, so we're new to each other. This is a lot of fun. I love these conversations. I've never played with her before, so I'm curious to see how we play together. But we had a wonderful conversation when we were getting to know each other, determining if this was a good fit for her to come and play with. And so I'm excited to have you here, Julie. Thank you for coming to play with me and with us. I will let you introduce yourself, and feel free to share as little or as much as you want, and I will take it from there.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. This is a big deal for me because this is I'm kind of for the first time out of the spirituality closet. There are going to be people on here, family, friends, clients, whether they're watching live right now or watching the replay. They have no idea what I do, and even my own family. So this is new, and this is just a beautiful way to kind of jump right in and introduce my guides to the world. So I thank you for the opportunity, and what a beautiful stage, and to be with all of these wonderful channels and all of this amazing energy. So I thank you for that. To be honest, I have never channeled in front of an audience. It's always just been a one-on-one or maybe a small group. So this is also brand new for me. So, but my guides are very excited and chomping at the bit, but I'm going to hold them back for a little bit. To tell you a little bit about my story, I found The Secret back in 2006, and that's kind of where the whole metaphysical law of attraction journey started. I was very drawn to Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks. Maybe some people don't realize that Abraham was part of the original Secret. I was very drawn to them and followed them, I don't want to say religiously, but religiously all of these years. And to the point where I would be talking with friends. We would be out either talking about current events or the news or something that was going on in their life. And I could practically verbatim regurgitate an Abraham tape that I had heard or recording that I had heard. And it was just so appropriate for the situation. So I didn't realize at the time, I just thought I had a really good memory. I really did. I didn't realize that not everyone was doing that. I would record, or I would find these recordings and send them to my close friends, and they resonated sometimes, but not like they did with me. They wouldn't necessarily remember the things that I would remember. Fast forward to 2020, when everybody just kind of had to take a step back and take a breath. I was lucky enough to work with an intuitive life coach who really changed my whole path. And really, we kind of determined that teaching the law of attraction was really something that I wanted to do. He was also very into Abraham, and he got me started teaching the law of attraction. I was doing webinars and I was using the Abraham material. The part of it that I didn't like was all of the logistics, creating the webinar, creating all of the creating all of the.
Sorry, give me a second. Let me find the person who is unmuted because I can't find them.
Okay.
Got
it.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's okay. The part that was always difficult for me were the logistics, creating the slides and all of that stuff. And I would talk to him and I would just say, all I want to do is talk. I just want to teach this. And I couldn't put my finger on what was missing and what I really needed to do. And he guided me in the right direction and introduced me to the art of channeling with Mike Dooley and Sarah Landon. And when I heard Sarah say, if you have been following a channel or resonate with a channel, you are a channel, because that's the way you have been channeling the information. And it was just this huge light bulb moment for me. So one of the first things they taught was automatic writing. And for those of you who aren't familiar with automatic writing, you just sit down, you take a few breaths, you go from your head into your heart, and you just write. And you write whatever comes to mind. And the messages that I got were pretty instantaneous and powerful. I mean, the first few times were just like, we love you, we adore you, trust us, this is real. It was really just trying to make sure they realized that I wasn't making it up, because that's your first instinct, that you're making all of this up and this isn't real. And it's just your imagination on overdrive. But it was, it took me from the automatic writing, where the messages, they come in like blocks of thought for me. And they just got so fast and furious that I couldn't keep up. So what I would do is I would write, and then I would sit down and read it back on my phone and record it. And then I would transcribe it. And so I have it written, and I've got hours and hours of recorded messages over the last year and a half. And I've got a whole notebook of all of my work. And I go back and I listen to it all the time. I can just pick a page and just read it. And it's always so helpful in the moment. But it got to the point where they were telling me, you've got to start verbal channeling. This isn't going to work anymore. We've got too much to say. And luckily, Sarah Landon has created this amazing community and kind of sectioned us off in little groups. And I would just ask my group to send me written questions. So they would send questions, and I would sit down and do a recording of a verbal channel and send it to them, and also transcribe it and send them the written version. And my guides always tell people to save those recordings and listen to them multiple times throughout a full year span, because you never know what you're going to hear during that year and when it's going to hit. And then that just took me to live sessions with all of these people just practicing, which now has come to the point where I have paying clients, and they just set up appointments on my website, and we channel and have fun. And that's kind of how it's been going. Back in July, had a few distractions, I would say, come into my life. And I really stopped channeling altogether till about mid-October, where things kind of got back on track. And the first thing they said was, go back to writing, because that's where you're comfortable. So I went back to writing, and the word seamless just kept coming up for me. And just over and over and over again. And they eventually told me, we went back to verbal channeling, and they said that you are going to teach a course, and it's going to be about permission and a seamless relationship with your higher self. And so when this opportunity came about, we were talking about it, and I just knew that this is what they wanted to discuss, and this is who they wanted to discuss it with. So it's just been a wonderful fit. And, you know, that's kind of how we got to this point. And so if you have any questions about any of that, let's go.
So,
your volume, can't hear you.
oh, sorry. I thought I unmuted myself. So as always, you know, thank you guys. Those of you that are here live, feel free to raise your hand or ask a question in the chat if you want to have Julie explore anything in particular, or if you want to ask something about her process. So from my point of view, Julie, the only thing that I kind of feel kind of as a starting point is, you mentioned this idea of you feel like you're making it up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still do. I mean, I channeled Yeshua and Mary Magdalene yesterday, and you know, if you ask me, I'll say I made that shit up. But then at the same time, what I hear is a friend of mine that I trust and respect that says they felt a shift in energy very powerfully. Okay, well, I listen to that and say, okay, well, maybe I'm not making it up. But because I'm still very much active when I channel, I'm not moving myself enough away so that I don't remember. I'm still very active in it. That's my process. That's my journey. When I write, when I automatic write, some people, when they automatic write, spirit is able to take over the hand and they write for you. I don't. I get a knowing that I then translate into language and then convert that into either text or writing.
Yeah.
And so everything for me comes through my knowing.
Right.
And one of the processes for me is to learn to not interfere with that, with my own ideas of, oh, I would work things differently, or, you know, that doesn't really sound right. Let me see if I can figure out what they're trying to say, or and so I actively get involved with the translation of the information that I'm feeling. And I say feeling because it's really difficult to describe. I talk about my team speaking to me, though they don't speak to me, and they speak to me through my knowing. It's not like language that comes through. But for me, it's still a process of learning. I'm not making this up. And I'm still very much in that phase of my learning and my development. So I would love to get your thoughts on that, given that you brought it up. I think that it's a very pertinent conversation for people that are listening and learning to explore this, learning to go into automatic writing, learning to connect with spirit. I think it's a very valuable conversation.
Right. And it really comes down to trust. You have to build that relationship, and you've got to trust those words. For me, the best thing I did, and nobody taught me to do it, it was just instinctual, I guess, was that I immediately, once I'm done writing, I record it on my phone and I listen back to it. And in the beginning, we had channeling buddies. I had 2 channeling buddies. And then I also had 3 people in my life, best friend, sister-in-law, and I would send the recordings to them, all 5 of them at the same time. And I would get their feedback. And it was amazing to me to get their feedback, because the messages I believed were for myself, and they were resonating with them in different ways, but they seemed to hit the same way for them. So that was just reassurance for me and validation. But also, when I would also transcribe it and read it back, that was another way for me to realize that's not my verbiage. That's not the way I talk. That's really not anything I would really say. So that was another thing that was important to really realize. But in the beginning, it really is. You just think, especially when you start to verbal channel, it's like, where did that come from? And then you listen back to it and you realize that, well, for me, verbal, it in the beginning, my head would kind of spin. Sometimes it still does a little bit. My voice is definitely different. Every once in a while, I'll have this strange little accent or this high-pitched voice. So that's different too. But for the writing, I think it's really just listening to the messages and just seeing how it hits, and go back and read them again multiple times. Don't just write it, because they're trying to tell you something. Those messages are for you, and they're trying to tell you something. And it's silly to just write it out and just put it in a book and never go back and acknowledge it.
And so Cheryl asked a question, but before I go into that question, Cheryl, Shannon sent me something. Shannon is another speaker that you guys have met through the different sessions, and she is part of this project. So Shannon sent me a note. And I think it's really valuable to share this. I don't know why she didn't share it publicly and she sent it to me directly, but that's okay. She says, it's always good to stay a little skeptical, as it allows each channel to stay authentic and humble to the work. And I agree with that. You know, I love, for me, authenticity and integrity are really important. And I like that invitation, that reminder that our skepticism of what it is that we're doing allows us to remain humble. And I think that that's really helpful. So Cheryl asks, so new to being told I need to use my gift. How am I to do that? And can you give me a so-called direction on how I can get there? I also just know things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all have the ability to channel. We channel all the time. We just never really put the label on it, or some people are afraid of that label. But it's just intuition. I've been doing this my whole life, didn't know it. And I've listened to my parents tell different stories where there's things over the years that my dad has done that he just knew that he had to do it and nothing was going to stand in his way. And it's just interesting when you really break it down. It's all the same thing. We all have the same, we weren't meant to forget. When we came forth, we weren't meant to forget this stuff, So of course, to kind of, you just need to figure out what feels good to you. And for me, before I found the automatic writing, obviously I was searching for a new path, a new career, maybe a new business partner, those types of things. And I didn't realize until I really started writing and building this relationship with my higher self, that was the relationship I was searching for. And then all of the answers just came through that. So I would say, just sit down, do meditation, do automatic writing, whatever feels good to you, ground yourself, just be out in nature, whatever feels good, just start there and don't judge yourself, whatever you do. We're all going at our own pace and you're not going to get it wrong and you're never going to go too slow. It's all going to unfold perfectly for you when you start to trust it.
And so I want to expand on this a little bit because Julie mentioned that she started or was early on in her journey of recognizing that she was a channel was through Sarah Landon and the relationship that she had with Mike Dooley in a 3-day or 4-day course that they offered. I was a part of that too. And Sarah suggested something that I think is a really great way for people to start. And she said, at the top of a piece of paper, just say, ask yourself, what does my higher self want me to know? Question mark. Mm-hmm. And then just sit and wait for the answer to come.
Yes.
And when I did that, because I be honest with you, I don't do that on a regular basis. I keep on wanting to, and I don't. But when I did it, I would say, what does my team want me to know? Now, for me, my spirit team always includes my higher self. My higher self is an integral part of my spirit team. And in my view of things, the way that I put them around is that there's multiple beings. Now, that's me. My mom is a higher self and source energy, and that's it. Nothing else exists. I've got all these layers of guides and things and stuff because I enjoy playing with that, but there's no right or wrong.
No right or wrong.
But that's a great way to start is, what does my higher self or what does my spirit team want me to know? And just wait for an answer to hit you. You'll feel it, you'll hear it, you'll sense it, you'll know it, and just trust it. Go with it. Don't say to yourself, oh no, that can't be it. Just start writing. Just start writing the first thing that comes to mind, and you can analyze it later. You can rip it to shreds later if you want, though I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
But you can bring in your judgment and your questioning, your skepticism after the fact. During the process, just allow yourself to write down or connect with whatever message and idea is coming to you. That's a great place to start. But Cheryl, you mentioned that you're new to this and you're being told that you need to use your gift. I'd love to know what gift people say you have, if you're willing to share and play with us in that space. And if you want to raise your hand and communicate with Julie, you're welcome to.
And just to add on to that a little bit about, what does my higher self, what does my soul, what does, however you want to put it, want me to know? What we kind of realized as a group early on was we kept getting the same messages, we love you, we trust this. And the thing is, when you don't start to hear the messages and start to integrate those messages into your life, you're just going to keep getting the same message. So make sure you do mix up the question, because if you keep asking the same question, you are going to get the same answer. So we've got to move on at some point. You can always go back when you're, feeling a little stuck or whatever, but ask different questions too. That will also help with your confidence level.
And so there's a question here from Kevin who's saying, he congratulates you on your first public channeling experience.
Hi, Kevin.
And he's curious to know who the intuitive coach was that you worked with.
Andy Dooley, Mike Dooley's brother.
And then Cheryl kind of follows up with a note saying, I have always talked to spirit and deceased loved ones. And
Wonderful.
So if that's something that you want to expand on and explore and play with, absolutely go in that direction. And how that works out for you, what's the best path, what's the best journey for you? Julie mentioned it. Follow your interests, follow your heart, follow what feels right for you. I would say the exact same thing. There's so many different ways that you can go forward. You can connect yourself through meditation, through nature. You can connect with the energies that are already speaking to you and have them teach you, have them show you, have them guide you. You can go to a teacher, a channel that you respect, have them help open you up and expand you. But regardless of which direction you go, I would always encourage people to recognize and follow their own wisdom. You'll know what feels right. Sarah in the council always talks about an effortless decision. Either it's an effortless yes or it's a no. Like either
they say it's choiceless.
Choiceless is the word that they use.
Choiceless. Yes.
It's a choiceless decision. Either you know or you don't. And there's a coach, a very well-known coach, that talks about it's a hell yes or a hell no.
Absolutely.
If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And so, that's what I would say. Hopefully that's helpful. Thanks for sharing and for playing with us. One thing that I'll tell you is these conversations, for me, connecting with channels and connecting with energy helps to expand my awareness and allows me to connect more easily. And so I am a member of Sarah Landon's community because I love the message that the council shares. I love the energy that they come forward. I agree with and I resonate with the way that they describe things. There's other channels that have been introduced to me through friends and I don't resonate with them. Like there's nothing wrong with them, but I personally don't resonate with them. And so I listen to them when I'm moved to listen to them, but I don't listen to them regularly. But being in these conversations, taking classes may not be so much for the content of the class as it is being exposed to people that are like-minded so you can become friends with them and grow together.
Exactly.
Apart from the fact that, of course, if you find a good teacher, a person that you resonate with that can help open you up and expand you then and work as a mentor or as a guide, that's fabulous. So there's a lot of different ways.
And speaking of teachers, I also took the semi-private channeling course with Sarah Landon, and she doesn't do them very often anymore. I don't even know if she's going to do another one in 2023, but if you're interested in channeling and you ever have the opportunity to do that, I highly recommend it. It is life-changing. I mean, if this is what you think your path is, it's magical. It's just wonderful.
So I love Sarah Landon. I talk about her all the time. I reference the council all the time. As I've mentioned in other episodes, I came through Jamie Butler, who has a wonderful channeling course. It just started end of January. JamieButlerMedium.com is her website. If you're interested, check her out. And I'm sure you could still jump into that. It's a 16-week course. But Sarah Landon, I believe they're doing one later this year or next year. I don't remember, but
They might be in the middle of one right now. I think they're in group 13 right now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So there's a comment here. Donnie mentions Julie and I in high school and afar. High school would ask the universe questions and wait for the answers. We played a game.
Yeah, we used to say clue song, and we would get in our car, we would ask a question, get in the car, and whatever song was playing, we would listen to those lyrics. And that was our answer. And it never failed us, never failed us. And we've been friends for, I don't even want to tell you how many years, but since high school. Yeah. She's obviously one that I send all of my channels to.
And so one of the things that this is kind of reminding me to kind of bring up is that many of us have been playing with spirit, and especially when we were kids and we were open to explore and experiment and play and have fun. And for whatever the reason, we chose to either shut that down or disconnect from it or move away from it. And many of us, myself included, are kind of saying, ooh, you know, I really enjoyed playing in that space. Let me go back to that now. And I think that it's important to kind of mention that, you know, again, reiterating what Julie mentioned, which I always talk about, is we all channel all the time. We are constantly channeling our higher self, our spirit team, the energies of our plants, our loved animals, our loved ones, the trees around us, the grass that we're walking through. We are feeling and connecting to their energy, and they're communicating with us constantly. And a lot of times we think that it's just our thoughts. Like I'll talk about, you know, my beautiful gemstones that play with me and are next to me. I don't hear their voice, but when we're talking earlier today with Kiara in the last session, I was moved to pick up this stone. I don't know why I was moved to pick up this stone. I just looked at it and I picked it up. Now, I've learned over time that this is the stone saying, hey, I want to share in this energy. I want to play in this space. I can help. And so I pick it up and I hold it until I feel moved to put it down again. I don't hear the language and the communication, but I'm opening myself up to having that happen. I'm opening myself up to receiving that level of communication with it. And so I think it's a beautiful reminder to remember that we're all channeling, we're always receiving messages, and it's just a question of tapping into it with more awareness, with more consciousness. And if you want to learn, you know, like Cheryl was talking about, is learning to expand on that, to become more conscious, to become more competent with the experience, then beautiful. You know, welcome to our camp.
Exactly.
So there's a couple things that I want to share. Again, Shannon mentions a couple things in private. She tells me that she's trying to send the message to everybody, but her computer won't let her. And so she gave up trying to, to send it to everybody. She says, Spirit reminds us all we have to do is say yes to them and ask for their help for it to happen. Then be active in seeing who and where you are being moved to show up. And we can always say no if and when we so choose. You know, we always talk about discernment. Discernment is really, really important for all of us. And then Julie, Dawn is asking if you have thought about creating a channeling course. You would be amazing.
I have to teach channeling. No, I haven't. I haven't got there. This is just kind of the start of it all. So no, I haven't. But my guides have a few ideas on how to kind of get me to jump in the pool of a course. They have a course in mind. So I will start there, and then you never know.
Beautiful. So trying to see if anything else is coming up for me to ask or direct.
Okay.
So I'm going to share my little process with you guys. I allow my mind to go quiet and I listen in for whatever it is that comes forward. And one of the things that we are taught by many teachers is to not judge the message that comes forward and to not put our ideas around it and not to question it, to just go forward with it. Like we mentioned earlier about the automatic writing. And what was coming for me to say is there's something about your past and your childhood that would be helpful for you to talk about, Julie. And I was thinking that just doesn't make any sense. Why would she want to talk about that? And so I'm sharing all of this with you because this is kind of part of what we all go through in learning to channel, is listening for information, learning to discern, to allow and to not interfere. And so there's something about your past, Julie, something about your childhood that might be fun for us to play with.
Yeah, definitely. A few people know about this, but so when I first started to channel, I was a little frustrated that they wouldn't necessarily give me a name. You know, I thought, oh, Abraham Hicks, that's so cool. And the council's cool. And Seth and Rashard, it's like, these are such cool names. And it's like, okay, you could build on that. And, you know, but they just kind of refused. They just said that's going to be very limiting. You're not going to need that. But if you absolutely have to have something, and it will change and it will go away. But for right this minute, if you need a name, you can use the name Greg. And the reason is because when I was little, 2, 3, 4 years old, I had an imaginary friend. I had a Greg and a Jenny, and went to the point where when I would go out with my mom to the grocery store or wherever, I would make her hold their hands. So she would hold my hand and she'd be holding Greg's hand too. And she would just walk around. She was so good with, she just allowed me to be me, and she allowed me to play with that energy, and she wholeheartedly believed it. She talked to them with me and played with them with me. And so for me, Greg, I hadn't thought about that in years. My mom, made her transition in late 2020. So this is all wrapped up in it. It's all divine. But so that was the name that they gave me. So the only person that really uses that name is my best friend, Dawn, who was talking earlier. She refers to them as Greg. I don't even refer to them as Greg anymore, but that's where, so I think that's probably what Spirit was trying to get me to say, which I had no intention of saying. So thank you for that. But
Absolutely. So there's a question here from Shannon that says, what grounding technique are you using when you come back? Because you mentioned that you take a while to kind of get settled back in the body. And we've talked about this throughout the season on a number of sessions. And so, you know, would love to know what you are learning as you are learning this process for yourself and getting more comfortable with it. What are you using to re-ground yourself afterwards?
Water. I drink a lot of water, and I just need a couple minutes. And it's mainly not necessarily that I need grounding. It's just that I don't remember what I've said. So like when I'm working with a client, I will just instantly just stop the recording and just leave. I can't, you know, even if they want to discuss it, I don't really remember what was said. So I could go back and listen to the recording and probably give some input and help with integration. But in the moment, I just don't remember. It's not that I really am out of it. It's just that I don't necessarily remember what was said. So if that makes sense. But obviously going out in nature, just bare feet in the grass, and a lot of water.
So water is something that's really important to kind of bring up. And I usually remember to bring this up earlier on in the season. I forget who it was, but I've heard it a couple of times through different channels where Spirit will remind us that water is energy, and connecting with Spirit takes a lot of energy. And so your body really uses a lot of water to process the connection. And so replenishing the water during and afterwards is really important. Even as a listener to these conversations, you might find yourself wanting or needing to drink more water than you normally do. Kitty asks a question, and I'm not sure what you're asking, Kitty. Kitty asks, do you have a favorite tool or procedure you use?
I just the 3 deep breaths for me. And again, Sarah has taught us to go from our head into our heart and just take those 3 deep breaths. A lot of times for the verbal channeling, I don't even need the 3 breaths. I can do 1 and they're just right there, ready to go. Other times it might take 5 or 6 breaths. It doesn't really matter. And like I said in the beginning, my head would kind of spin, and I realized the more I would try to fight that, the longer it would take for the channel to come through. So I just kind of just let it be now and just relax into it. But it does get easier. But some people love, tarot cards, anything to just get you to focus and to build that trust and that relationship. So I haven't done that, but I know a lot of people do.
So in terms of your process, your journey of learning to channel, what would you say are the benefits that you've experienced as you've looked and pointed yourself in this direction?
Just the relationship, like I said, just the relationship with my higher self and the things that they have taught me, and just that connection and that trust. It's like a friendship. It's like a deep friendship to the point where you don't need that from other people. It's not to say that you aren't going to connect with people. It's just, it makes all of your other relationships so much better when the only relationship that you really do need is the one between you, or you and your higher self, or source, or God, or whatever you want to call it. Because it just takes the pressure off of everyone else. And just to have that guidance and that knowing that you are safe and you're not alone and you are guided. It's just, it's a relief, and it's very freeing for me. I just feel lighter, and I just feel happy, and it just feels easy, very easy to me. Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense.
Okay.
There's an element of connecting with ourselves through channeling. And I mentioned this in the last session, which is the reason that I was interested in getting your thoughts. There's an element of connecting through the process of channeling to the essence of who we are as individuals and as energy in human form that I really enjoy, and I really benefit. But there's something that you mentioned, which I'm going to kind of bring forward a little bit more clearly. Sarah Landon in the Council talks about how every relationship you have is a reflection of your relationship to Source.
Yes.
And I loved hearing that. I loved hearing that, not because my relationships are wonderful and I start to judge myself because my relationships are, could be better, could be stronger, could be whatever. That's not the invitation. The invitation is that the more you allow yourself to recognize the connection that you have to the divinity within yourself, to the source energy that you already are, every other relationship is going to go up with the tide. It will rise with you. And so that's something that you mentioned that I just want to put into different language and to emphasize, because it's a really important point for all of us to remember is, as we connect with the relationship of source energy, as we understand what that means for us, the impact of that extends to every aspect of our lives and to every relationship that we have with our loved ones, our friends, our animals, our plants, our earth, everything. There's a question or a comment here. I've been playing with my channeling abilities, but I feel as though I get stuck right before I'm able to use my voice. I'm receiving the messages and want to say them and get them out completely. Wait. it just jumped on me and my mind didn't catch up to the fact that it jumped. That was really funny. It's like, wait, that's not the word I was looking at. That was really funny. Let me get back to this. Sorry. I feel as though I get stuck right before I'm able to use my voice. I'm receiving the messages and want to say them and get them out, but a part of me is afraid that if I hear my own voice, I will lose that beautiful connection that just feels so, so good.
I used to feel that way at times during meditation. When I first started meditating, I would get in such a deep meditation. I was afraid to breathe because I was afraid the movement of my body would take me out of that meditative state. And so I totally understand that. But again, it just takes time, and don't judge yourself and don't worry about it. And maybe just practice the writing, go to the writing, and they will get you to the point where it's too much and goes too fast, like I said, and you won't have an option but to verbal channel. So, and just play with it. You're never going to get it wrong at all. You're never going to get it wrong. So don't worry about it and don't judge yourself. Just practice with it. Turn on your phone, record it, and just see what comes through. Sometimes I know we've heard a few of the speakers this season would practice light language, which is nothing that I have ever been into. It's never happened for me, but light language is always a good thing too. Maybe just try to hum, try to see what comes out. Just let your voice come out. Start there. Just make a sound and just let it flow. And again, don't judge yourself.
So my little contribution to this conversation is that I am still very much, like I've said, active and aware when I'm channeling. My intellect can very easily interfere. And when I feel an energy that is present, that is ready for me to allow them to come forward, sometimes it takes for me to just let them start talking. And I can sometimes get in the way when I say, okay, start talking, but then I start interfering with the process because I'm quote unquote letting them start talking. So it's a process within my own journey, within my own thought process, within my own awareness, where I let them start talking. And as they start talking, it gives me the opportunity to step away, to be less active, to be less invested, to be less involved in what's happening. And so sometimes just letting it start allows you to step back. If you're like me, where you're still active, you're still aware, you can hear everything, feel everything, sense everything, think everything while it's happening. Or you're more like, other people that have come forward where they go completely away and they don't remember anything. If you're learning that process within yourself, like Julie mentioned, just go for it. And I would say, let them start talking and notice your awareness shift as you do that. Give yourself the space to allow them to kind of take over. And I say that in that language very loosely. They're not actually taking over, but you know what I mean.
Right. And for me too, yeah, mine always starts the same, whether it's writing or whether it's verbal, they always start with, we are here. And sometimes when I just say those words, even though it's me saying it, I'm giving them permission to just come through, and then I can just back out, just giving that quick little second of just that acknowledgement that they're there. And maybe that's something that will be helpful too. Just always start with the same verbiage and just, and like I said, when I write, that's how I start to write too. Because sometimes I have more of a block when I start to write than when I verbal channel. And I just write, we are here. And then I just let it, and then it just flows out.
That's a beautiful recommendation. I love that. And I remember when I was learning to channel, the energies that would channel through me would speak in a staccato cadence that would sound almost like this. And when I was trying to get out of my head, what I would do is I would start to imitate that. Before they would jump in, I would start to imitate it, and that would trigger me into going into that. But I love that idea of having like a catchphrase or a sentence that opens the door, and you can utilize, even if you're conscious, utilize that as a way to invite them in. I love that invitation. That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So the second kind of follow-up comment from Christina is, I'm able to do automatic writing, and I have had times where they take over my hand and my handwriting completely changes, but now I'm on the path to be a verbal channel, and they are guiding me to do that. And so welcome to our journey. It's a fun journey. Be patient with yourself. Believe me, that's something that I struggle with myself.
And do what I did. Have people send you questions. It was so easy in these groups. I just said, whatever you want to know from my guides, just write a quick little sentence or a quick question. I would sit down with it. I wouldn't know who the question was from, and I wouldn't know the question until I actually sat down. And I read it real quick. I went into channel and I just answered it. No judgment, I just let it go. And I recorded it and I sent them the recording before I even listened to it. That's how much I trusted it. I would just send it off, and then I would listen to it, and then I would transcribe it, and then I would send them the written version of it. But you got to practice in some way, and so that's a great way to do it without being too intimidated by doing it live or actually being face to face with someone. So try it that way and just see what happens.
Yeah. So Christina, season 5 is in May 5th. So I'm going to give you a call and I'm going to say you're speaking on May 5th. All joking aside. To be honest with you, I agree with what Julie's saying. It's all about practice, and it's about figuring out our instrument, figuring out our voice, figuring out our own process, what works for us. And I talk about this all the time. Julie can say things that she does, and I can say things that I do, and it helps you to find your own way. But that's the important part. You got to find how this resonates with you. For weeks, if not a couple months, I would practice with my friends, and I would do what I thought trans-channeling was supposed to be, and nothing came forward. And then I said, well, I know that when I am in a spiritual regression, and I'm exploring past lives or in between lives, my spirit team speaks through me easily and effortlessly. Well, I can do that. Let me allow them to do that. And so I started speaking the way that I knew how, which isn't, in my mind, what trans-channeling is. And so a lot of this is finding how it works for you. So hopefully this is helpful. Yes, Christina, you're welcome. Give me a call. Drop me an email. May 5th. If you're up for the challenge, I would love to bring you as a speaker for May 5th if you want to play. But that's how I started channeling publicly, was through these events. I wasn't going to be a speaker. If you listen to my season 1, which is in YouTube and is on podcasts, that was my very first public channeling. I'd never channeled publicly before. And it was actually someone that I was speaking to that said, Daniel, you need to be a speaker. I wasn't planning on being a speaker because, who the hell am I to be a presenter? And so she was like, no, you are a speaker too. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll be a speaker too. And so that was my first experience. And so I love people like Julie that say, I've never done this. And, I love the opportunity to come in and grow and explore on this platform. I think it's an honor that we collectively have created a space that allows her to have that comfort, because it's not me that's created the space. You all have created the space for her to feel that comfort. So it's amazing. I love that experience that we are all growing through this platform. The speakers are growing, the speakers are expanding, the listeners are growing, the listeners are expanding, and we're all in this together. So right,
exactly. Yeah.
Shall we play with your team? Are you ready?
Why not? Of course.
Anything else that you want to share before we jump in, or any other questions from people that are live before Julie disappears? Awesome.
Thanks.
As always, if you guys have any questions while Julie is connecting with her team, feel free to put them in the chat. Julie, I will let you do your thing. Anything that you need from us?
Okay. Yeah, normally what they'll do is they'll just give a message for a few minutes, and then they'll just ask for questions. So Feel free to write the questions in there. Daniel, I know you can just keep them busy talking for a little bit. So you watch the clock and you cut them off when need be.
So we're here for another.
Offend them.
We're in the last session for the day, so we're here for 5 hours. Are you good with that?
Need a little more water, for sure.
Have fun. Right. Have fun. Okay, we'll be here. Okay. We'll be here when you get back.
All right. Okay.
So for those of you that are with us, you might have seen me zone out. Given that Julie and I have never worked together before, what I was curious about was to feel the energy of our team. And as that energy is coming in, I was able to kind of connect with that consciously and to feel a little bit of what that is. I always talk about feeling the vibration of the essence that's speaking. And so this is what I was kind of tapping into, and I did it with my eyes open, but I easily could have done it with my eyes closed. And again, I'm sharing this with you because a lot of what this program is for me, or this project is for me to share with you guys what I do and how I do it and why I do it, to give you guys opportunities to kind of expand and play with these ideas yourself. I assume that Julie's team doesn't mind me speaking while they're connecting.
We are here. We are here. We are here. We are so
beautiful.
Ready to jump in. So ready to
beautiful.
Jump in.
So excited. So excited to have you guys.
We've been held back for too long. We are so excited. We've been very excited for months. We knew this was coming, and we've had many, many, many things to say. First of all, we have been listening, and we encourage everyone to tap into their own power, whatever that may be for them. And please be easy on yourself, and don't ever judge, and don't compare, never compare with anyone else. This is your special journey, and you were meant to do what you were meant to do, and you will know what is right for you. So please just trust your own power. But we would like to talk about connecting with your higher self. The word seamless has been so important to us. We would really like to teach you to be able to give permission to your higher self to take over in any situation, in any segment of your day or your life, meaning give us permission to come in, ask us to take over. And even when you're, for instance, driving in your car, before you get in, ask us to come in, give us permission to take over and get you there in the most easy, fun. We never want to say safe, because safe is, you are always safe, but give us permission to get you there in the easiest way possible. And that is just one segment of your day. But as you begin to build that relationship between you and your higher self, everything in your life will become easier and easier. So we ask that you give permission and create that seamless relationship. So not only are you listening to your higher self, but you are actually integrating the teachings of your higher self, and you are actually living this life, not just listening. And we don't want to say the word pretend. We want you to live your best life. And this is the best way to do it, by giving permission. We're repeating ourselves. We understand we're repeating ourselves. Our human is just having a little difficulty. Give us a second. So much energy here.
May I?
Yes, please, please.
So as we are learning to channel, one of the things that our human is learning to do is to manage all of the energy. So as a host of this event, one of the things that my human is learning to do is to manage all of the energy of the speakers, of the audience, as well as all of the energy of our spirit friends that are coming to play with us. This season, the energy was so strong that for the entire day one, I had a really strong headache, and I knew that it would pass. I knew that it would go. I knew that it was because of all of the energy. We are putting our humans into these opportunities to expand its energy and its ability to manage and work with energy. And so this is a new experience for our friend. And so her team is working with her energy to help balance it, to help manage it in a way that allows her to allow her team to continue communicating with us.
And we are so happy. We are so happy to have this opportunity. And we understand that there are nerves and there are many ideas and expectations. And we are just trying to get her to back out a little bit and let us take over. So again, she has to give us that permission that we just spoke of. So we are here. We are connected. We feel much better now. So yes, we are ready. We are ready. But we do want to outline the process of permission, and we really do want to make sure that everyone understands that you do have a higher self that you can tap into at any time. That is your team, that is your guidance, and whatever you choose to call it, your spiritual guide, your higher self, God, divine intelligence, infinite intelligence, whatever you choose to call it is fine. But we are always right here, and we are loving you, and we are guiding you, and we are protecting you, and we never overstep. Sometimes we get questions, we feel a little bit we feel some questions about free will. You always have free will. Your free will is to choose whether or not to let us in. There is always guidance and well-being flowing to you at all times. If you are not experiencing it, if you are not living your best life, it is simply because you are obstructing it in some way. There is only well-being. There is only health and vitality and abundance flowing to you. But it's when your human gets in the way with either maybe you've had a bad day, maybe you're in a bad mood, maybe you don't feel well. Those things are going to obstruct the well-being that is flowing to you. But just having the knowledge that there is a guide guiding you and spreading that love to you should be so soothing. And remember, every night when you slumber, you raise your vibration and you connect again with your higher self. And wherever you left that vibration when you went to sleep that night, you will wake up in that same place. So we highly recommend, again, when you go to sleep, give us permission to come in and give you an incredible night's sleep with joyous dreams, and let us talk to you while you slumber, and let us be there, and let us play with you, and let us guide you in that way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Appreciate the invitation. And so again, to everybody that's here with us live, feel free to pose the question in the chat. And to our friends that are with us, is it okay if people raise their hand and speak to you directly, or would you rather them go through me?
Whatever you choose, whatever you choose.
Beautiful. So if you guys want to raise your hand and communicate directly, go ahead and do so. And so I always like to ask this question whenever I'm speaking with new expressions of source energy. I'd love to ask, what are the areas of interest and expertise that you guys like to play in?
Mm. Give us more.
Okay, I will come back to that. There's a person on iPhone, raised hand. If you want to unmute yourself, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Mm.
Yeah, this is John. Thank you for taking my question. And I had a question about something that's been happening to me about a week and a half now during deep meditation, where I'm feeling incredible amounts of energy coming in. And I'm having this experience where my head, the top of my head, feels like it's actually expanding physically, where the tissue feels like it's separating from the skull, like my skull's elongating. And I actually can feel and hear the spinal fluid filling that space. And I'm just wondering if you might be able to tell me what exactly is happening.
Isn't that exciting? Isn't
Yes.
that expansion in and of itself? That is incredible. You are so in tune. You are so in tune with your body. You are so in tune with the planet and with nature. That should not be a surprise to you that you are that connected with your human body, but also your higher self. It is all perfect. It is all perfect. It is just expansion. You understand what is happening. You understand to such a deep level that most humans do not understand. We will give you what you are ready for, and you are ready. You are always ready. You are so prepared. You are so knowledgeable. Things that could happen to any other human and they wouldn't even recognize it. But because you are so in tune and you are so ready, these types of things will continue to happen to you. You just need to enjoy it and appreciate it and know that you are expanding on such an incredible level. You are a very evolved being, and we love working with you. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and I really appreciate it because, yes, I have been working on bringing in these higher dimensional energies and anchoring them into the planet for all of humanity so that we can all utilize this energy and grow together. So I really, really appreciate you answering my question.
And we appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
There's a question that came in the text. Jill, I've got you on the queue, so to speak. But the question is, why are we seeing so much darkness in the world? If that's something that you can help shed some light on.
It is all, that is your perspective. That is not our perspective. You will see what you want to see. We don't judge. There's never any judgment from our side, but you must look in a different direction. There's nothing wrong with your world. And we understand to the human ear that may be hard to hear. But there's nothing going wrong. Everything is unfolding perfectly from our perspective. And that, again, when you start to build that relationship with your higher self and you see things from our perspective through our eyes, you will no longer see darkness. You will no longer see those things. That's not to say you should not have compassion, because absolutely you can have compassion, but you cannot let those emotions lower your vibration, if that makes sense. But from our perspective, there's nothing going wrong. Your beautiful planet is perfect. It is all unfolding perfectly. Does that make sense?
Hopefully that's helpful for any. One thing that I'll add really quickly, I've been told by, again, spirit friends of mine that we're seeing a lot of darkness as things need to be brought into the awareness so that we can shift them. And so it might perceive or might be seemed like there's a lot of darkness, but it's just things that need to get resolved that are coming into the forefront. For what it's worth, that's one of the things that I've heard as well. Jill, you are up. Any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the reminder to give permission. That was so helpful. And along those same lines, something that I'm experiencing quite a bit in the last few weeks, it feels like there's new energies coming in. And I find myself expanding, and then there is an integration period that I experience more as a contraction, but I'm starting to understand it's really about integrating these new frequencies. Is there anything more you can offer me and all of us as we open more and more to all that we are, to really help with those places where it gets a little sticky?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is such an important time. This is why you all came forth. This is why you chose this time to be alive on your planet. You are not mistaken when you feel those higher energies. It is absolutely real, and it is absolutely happening. It is such an exciting time. Everyone is beginning to awaken to all of this, to their own higher self, to their own power. And it is such an important time because it is about integration. It is not about just hearing a lesson and putting it aside or maybe talking about it with friends. It is actually, we've been trying to tell you the messages are for you. They are for you, and it is for you to integrate it. Please hear us when we say all of this is happening for you. And just please, please, please listen to the messages and do your best to live them. And the way to do that is to, again, give us permission and see your life from our perspective. Walk around as if the two energies between you and you are combined, because they are. Again, you are the only one that can obstruct that. And when that is free flowing, that energy between you and you, that's the key. That is what you want. And everyone is beginning to understand it. All of these energies are so powerful because everyone is beginning to plug into it. Does that make sense?
Is that helpful, Jill?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yes,
beautiful.
it is.
Donnie, I've got you coming up next. One comment that came in the chat beforehand is, can you please talk more about allowing our higher self to take over? How can I feel them tap when I am not in my structural channel, which is normally astrology? How can I connect with my higher self and allow my higher self to come in through my normal 3D life?
Well, let's start there. Let's start there. When you are allowing us to come in, you give us permission to come in, you are not living a 3D life. Let's start there. You are living in and we will get to the point where there are no more dimensions. That won't be, you won't need to label it, because you will either be in alignment with source energy and life is flowing, or you won't. And that is how it will eventually become. That is where we are headed. We are no longer going to have all of these labels. And so when you give us permission to come in and you really allow us. You will know, you will be in alignment, and things will just start to flow. And so please be easy on yourself. Please don't judge yourself if you feel like there's only one way for you to tap into your higher self. There isn't. There are multiple ways to tap in. Again, you can do it through meditation. You can just do it, walk in nature, be in nature, do those automatic writings, just take those 3 breaths and go from your head into your heart. There are multiple ways. Don't judge yourself and be easy on yourself, and just, again, give us permission. Give us permission to come in and just back out a little bit and let us take over, and you will see a difference. Does that make sense?
Hopefully that's helpful. Kitty, feel free to put a follow-up question or comment in the chat. Donnie, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say, Greg, thank you for using Julie as a vessel. You have been the biggest gift for her and giving her pure joy. I can't wonder, sometimes I hear the messages that you send to Julie, and then I feel like Julie and I are on the same path and alignment. Is this something I'm imagining, or am I receiving these messages as well because I'm supposed to hear them?
Of course, you're supposed to hear them. Of course. The 2 of you came forth. You've heard the term soulmates. Soulmates can mean so many different things, but there are clusters of you that come together, come to this planet together, whether it's in the same time, whether it's the same year, whether it's the same decade. You were meant to be together. You have known each other in past lives, and you are considered soulmates. That's the term you will most recognize. But absolutely, the 2 of you have been living this life together, and it's no coincidence that everything you have done have been at the exact same time. So of course, the messages are just as much for you. Any message that you attract from any channel is always meant for you. There are times where we have given messages and you have not received them. Maybe you have been busy. Maybe you haven't just heard them. Those weren't for you. And every time you hear a message, if it doesn't resonate with you, again, that is not for you. But for the most part, absolutely, the 2 of you are sharing the same messages. It is no mistake. You are spot on with that one.
Thank you, Donnie. And so, John, I'll come back to you in a second. I believe that's still you in iPhone. Give me 1 second. Christine asks, my sweet elderly mom will be transitioning soon. I believe she is ready to do so. I so want to be joyful for her. How do I balance the feeling of missing her with wanting to be happy for her?
Your relationship with your mother will be so brand new. It will be as if the 2 of you have a brand new relationship, and you will be so close, and she will be part of your team, and she will be guiding you and leading you. She will be right there with you. It will be such a new experience for both of you. Be excited about this relationship. You will be so close, and all of the answers will come through her as well. She will be guiding you. She will be one of your angels, if you want to call it an angel. She will be your spirit guide. She will be whatever you choose to call it. Just when you feel her presence, recognize it. And if it ever starts to fade, it's just because you are getting so used to it and it's so familiar, but she will always be right there. And it's going to be an incredible brand new relationship. You're going to see brand new things. You're going to hear her. You'll hear her laughing, and you will hear her talking to you. And when you laugh, she will laugh, and she's going to be with you in all of the joyful moments. And yes, you will be amazed at the relationship that you have. Does that make sense?
Hopefully that's helpful. Christine, feel free to add any follow-up questions or comments in the chat. John, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello again. I have another question. I couldn't resist because I got the chills all over when you mentioned that as we move along, we no longer will think about dimensions of reality. And 2 nights ago during meditation, this message was given to me to basically toss out dimensions and densities out the window. And what my guides were saying is that it's one undulating sea of basically almost like a plasma light or an ocean of plasma light, layer upon layer in a sense. And so it's just from the lowest to the highest frequencies, kind of like our ocean. We have all these drops of water that make up the ocean, but it's one big sea. And what they showed me is I used to scuba dive, and the analogy they kind of gave me was, in other words, when we scuba dive, we have to worry about, pressure, how long, our air will last at different depths. Now, I don't remember what the exact numbers are, but they count in atmospheres. So at sea level, they consider that 1 atmosphere of pressure. And so for every 33 feet we go down in the ocean, that is 1 atmosphere, 66 feet, 2 atmospheres, and so on. And so what they were showing me is that you can kind of think of that 1 atmosphere like a density that we call it. And within that density, it covers a certain spectrum of frequencies that we can have an experience in, and we have an unlimited number of dimensions, so to speak, of experience that we can have within that density. But they were showing me this picture of like kind of throw that out the window in one big sea. And so I'm just wondering if you can comment a little bit on what you said about letting go of dimensions, because this is something that was being shared with me, and I was wanting to explore it more, which I haven't had the opportunity to do yet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Humans love graphs. They love labels. They love science. They love to have everything explained. And so this is the best way that we've been able to feed it to you so far, is to just give you those diagrams and those graphs or whatever it takes for you to visualize. And it seems as if humans always just want to top themselves. So we go from one dimension to the next dimension to the next dimension. And really, it's really just a matter of alignment or not alignment. And it doesn't have to be so difficult. And so when you take all of those labels out and all of those dimensions out, it's going to be so much simpler for the other humans that aren't necessarily ready for all of this. The end goal is to get to your so-called 5D or your heaven on earth or whatever you choose to call it. But for those that are unfamiliar with this, which are many on this call, they are very unfamiliar with all of this terminology and anything that you are talking about here today. So just taking all of that out makes it so much easier for everyone to get to that level of life the way it was supposed to be experienced when you came forth. It was never supposed to be so complicated. You were always supposed to have that flow of well-being coming to you. It was never supposed to be obstructed the way it has been. And it's with the labels and with all of the, we don't want to say levels, just the levels of not even hierarchy, but just the way people compare to each other. We see a world where that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anymore. You don't have to worry about all of these things. You're just going to be. You're just going to be in joy, in happiness. It's going to be easy. You will be in abundance, as will everyone else. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Basically, what I hear you saying is this: it's one big pot, and it's just a matter of tuning your resonant frequency to match the vibration you wish to experience and be able to hold it there. as a steady set point, and you can experience any reality you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you,
Appreciate
John.
it. Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So the next question that came forward is from Casey, who says, are there possibly any blocks to my connecting due to traumatic paranormal experience when I was very young? It was suggested to me, I do have a vague sense or a memory of it, but she would like some clarity if that's something that you can help with.
If you feel that there is a block, there is a block. It is everything that you are feeling, or you are imagining, or you are holding there. If you want to let go, give us permission to come in. Give us permission to come in and take over and let it go. Those are just old patterns of thought or habit that you no longer need. If you believe it, it's true, whatever that is. So if you believe that there is something that has happened in your past that is blocking you, it's blocking you. Absolutely, it's blocking you. But it's just as easy to let it go. Give us permission to come in and take over, and we will. Does that make sense?
So hopefully that's helpful for you, Casey. The next question is from Ritzia, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She asks, is my mom on my team? And she would love to hear from her if that's possible.
We do not usually take your power from you in that way. That is an intimate relationship between you and your mother. But of course, she's with you. She's always with you. She absolutely adores you. You must take the human that you remember as your mother out of the equation and just let her be part of your team. She's absolutely right there with you at all times. You just have to feel for her, and you will find her in the joy. You will find her when you're happy. You will not find her when you are in desperate times or in sad times. You will find her in the joy, if that makes sense.
So thank you for that.
Oh, okay.
The next question is from Rebecca. She's having trouble trusting her automatic writing. Can you tell her if it's truly her higher self or team coming through? And what I would like to do is to use that question as a general answer to everybody that is playing with automatic writing and learning to trust the answers. So if you can speak specifically to Rebecca, but also if you can speak to the bulk of us who question that ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is real. It is so real. You just have to trust. Ask different questions. Ask things that you may not know the answer to, and sit down and see what comes out. And again, don't judge yourself. Don't ever judge yourself. Just let it be, let it flow. Don't worry if it's just a few words. Don't worry if it takes 5 pages. It doesn't matter. The answer will be there. Read it back multiple times. Don't read it back just in that same minute. Read it back in a week. Read it back in 2 weeks. The answers that you're looking for are in there. It is real. That is your higher self speaking to you. Absolutely it is. You'll find all the answers there.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. The next question comes from Cheryl. She asks, I have a question about shadow work, in quotes. I have taken in a lifestyle of believing everyone has a bright light and is deserving of anything. So I don't want to go backwards to work on things that I have discarded. Is this okay?
Absolutely. Everything Everything is forward looking. There is absolutely no reason to ever look back. It is the same as our friend's question before. If you believe it, if you believe something is blocking you, it is blocking you. So just look forward, let all of that go, give us permission, and let us help you let it go. They are just habits. They're a thought that no longer serve you. Just let it go. Whatever brings you joy, that is what you need to do. Whether it's any kind of work that you feel is beneficial to you, is beneficial to you. And again, don't judge yourself, don't compare yourself, don't compete with others. Just let it be. And let it be enough. Whatever you're doing, let it be enough. That's very important for you. Let it be enough. Does that make sense?
Beautiful. Thank you. And so last question, keeping in mind the time, Casey's asking for some clarification on her automatic writing. I've tried automatic writing focusing on hand movements only, yet all that happens is doodling squiggly squirrels or spirals, squiggly spirals, so to speak. Is there something you can share with her about that process that would help encourage her to let her know that she's on the right path?
Of course, of course. Anything that comes out is perfectly fine. If you're trying to get messages, if you're trying to connect with your higher self with messages, you will need to write words. But if you are just trying to get a feeling, it's the same as verbal channeling versus light language. It is the same. The most beautiful art comes from doodling. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. When you are connected to your higher source and your hand is just moving freely, again, don't judge it. Just let it be. But if you're trying to get messages, use your words and write and just see what happens. But yes, don't judge yourself. It's all perfect. It is all so perfect.
Beautiful. And so I want us to finish with this question, which is actually applicable to a lot of the things that you've been speaking about today. Thank you, Ritzia, for posting this. It's a great way to kind of finish things off. How do we give you permission to take over?
Say the words. Say the words. Say it out loud. Say it in your mind. Say it however you want to say it. Give us permission to come in. That's all it is. It's very simple. Again, humans overthink so many things. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just give us permission. Give us permission to come in. We're right here. We are so close. We are right here with you. Just let us connect. Let us connect on every level. We're right here. Just say the words. We understand what you're saying.
Beautiful.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Beautiful. So thank you for coming into play. We look forward to having you come back in the future. A lot of thanks from everybody for you guys. And when you're ready, if you can allow our friend to come back. If there's any last minute messages that you would like to leave us with, of course, you're welcome to.
We love you. We love you. We love you. We love you. That is it. That is it. Please feel for us. Please feel our love. We are always right here. Oh my goodness.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Felt a little bumpy. A little bumpy. I was
Not at all.
There was a lot of there was a lot of energy. That was very different. Very, very different than a one-on-one. Let me tell you. Oh, the nerves. The nerves.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
Yeah.
So excited to hear. So excited to hear. So a lot of thank yous from everybody for you and Greg. That there was an earlier comment that I didn't share because it really wasn't really relevant for your team to hear, but for you, it might be fun to play with. Okay. Did you know that Greg is the name root for shepherd of the flock?
I've heard something to that effect. Yes, I did. I have, it's actually on my computer right here. Yes, I'm familiar with something to that effect. Yeah. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so I'm aware of the time. like I said before, this is the last session of the day, so not too concerned. I don't like to go over too far just to kind of honor people's time and stuff. There is an opportunity for you guys to work with Julie directly if you want. It is the special invitation. She's offering a 50% discount on a private session with her guides. And that can be either a private channeled session for 50 minutes or having her give you a channeled answer for about 10 minutes. And again, if you're interested in connecting with her, you can sign up with her directly through juliewainer.com/sessions. Use the discount code of Summit Season 4. And if you have any questions or you want to follow up with her, please reach out to her. So I kind of hand it over to you if there's anything else that you would like to add, Julie.
I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for the opportunity. I'm thankful for everyone who's tuned in. I'm just thankful. And yeah, what an experience. What an experience. And thank you for guiding me. Thank you for being there. And thank you for the support, Daniel. This has been really, really fun. It's been quite an experience.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Love it.
It's an honor and a pleasure. Looking forward to having you come back.
Thank you. Okay.
So for those of you that are with us, thank you so much. Julie, if you want to take a look at the chat, there's a lot of thank yous to you.
Okay.
And so for those of you that are with us, thank you so much for being with us, both in live as well as in the recording and the replays. We will continue tomorrow. We're going into day 4. It's always bittersweet for me to go into the last day because this is so much fun that I don't want it to end. But as I've already indicated, this is every 3 months. So season 5 is May 5th, which is going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow we start with Ryan Willoughby, who is friends with Julie. He's the one that actually connected me to Julie. So I'm excited to have that conversation with him. And then Susan Kennard, with which many of you are probably familiar with. It's my first time connecting with her, but she's excited to be here as well. And then we will finish off the day with Kitty Foss, who is our story-speaking astrologer, who's been with us throughout the season. And she's been with us before in the past. And so it's always a lot of fun to play with her. So on that note, I will leave you guys for today. Julie, again, thank you so much for coming to play with me and allowing us to connect with you and your team. It's an honor and a lot of fun to have their energy. Like I say, welcome to have you come back.
Thank you. Thank you.
It'll be fun to play with you guys again in the future. And for those of you that are with us, I will leave you guys until tomorrow. Being spirit, being human, simply being from love.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of this incredible experience. We hope that this session has inspired a new level of understanding within you, allowing you to expand more easily into the essence of your true self and become an even more powerful alchemist in your own life. We invite you to listen to the session again and again in order to go deeper each time and expand even more. Have it be via the replays or the unlimited access package. If you have enjoyed being part of this event, we invite you to tell your friends so that they can join us in the future. We are grateful that you are here, and we thank you for co-creating this experience with us. Until next time, we leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love.